Good evening. It's Tuesday, I think. Yes, Tuesday. So, I do apologise for not streaming yesterday. The guilt did weigh heavily on my mind. Once I noticed. Until I noticed, it did not. As you know, I'm a big Monsters and Memories fan, and yesterday was, round about now, was pretty much the start of a week-long playtest. And, well, I logged in, because obviously it started actually at about 6 o'clock. So I logged in to kind of be there and, for the start of the event. And, well, I got into answering questions, and it was only kind of when I was tired and remembering that I had to go to work tomorrow and all of those kind of moments that I realised I had already got a commitment and I had broken it. So I do apologise very profoundly for lack of paying you the attention you deserve. And I'm not saying that, the other guys don't need help in the game, and the guy who does most of the helping, frankly, was not available yet, so he wasn't there. And so, I am a poor substitute, I need to point out. I mean, I've got plenty of macros. You have no idea how many macros I've got. Actually, let me count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. I've got 21 macros for answering questions. And you'd be surprised, some of those are very rarely used. A lot of them are very commonly used. Where do I find crushed malachite? Where is the enchanter spell vendor? Where is, I have answers for these, as does the lovely guy who often answers questions. So from that point of view, I kind of just got caught up with it, and the next thing I knew is it was basically midnight, and, well, I'd be thinking about bed. And then I kind of went, I didn't stream, did I? Oh, shit. And I literally, at no point until then, had my brain given, even though it's like 6 inches away from my elbow, had my brain given it any thought whatsoever. So, as I said, I do apologise deeply for this grievous error. You deserve better than that. Hi, Bailey. I do apologise for not being present yesterday. I have no one to blame but myself. The good news, or the bad news, depending on your point of view, is that I'm not working, likely, for the rest of the week. Without going too much into detail, as I said, likely for the rest of the week, I should have far less excuse. Now, I do intend to spend some of the part of the week doing some things which I frankly should have done last week, and, well, frankly should have done over the last many months. So I do hope to catch up with some of the things I should do, but due to severe backache, I find many of them painful, and so can only do short stints. But I really do need to do some of them. So I have already tested carpet washer in the kitchen. It didn't half chew through water. I bought a new carpet washer because my old one was alright. It just wasn't good. It was alright. It was kind of bit like taking your not really dirty car to a car wash and it coming out clean. Well, it didn't really have a lot to do in the first place. And that's kind of what the carpet washer I had was best for. In that it will freshen up your carpet and maybe make it smell nicer. But it wasn't really any good at actually washing anything out of it. In that, yes, you could make it pee water everywhere and not suck up the pee water, i.e. you could sit there and kind of like throw a bucket of water at it, wait a bit, and then suck up some of the water. But the problem was that the sucky bit didn't necessarily touch your carpet. As a result, it's a bit like slurping. You know how like posh wine people used to taste wine and go and kind of 90% air and a tiny bit of wine? Well, that's kind of how it sucked up the water. And so most of the dirty water would stay in the carpet and it would stay pretty wet. New one, holy shit. I once said when I bought a new Dyson that actually was too much. In the end, I couldn't cope with it. But I bought a Dyson. I bought the latest Dyson Animal one. And frankly, it could have sucked the devil through concrete, right? Because there were so many carpets, you could not move that Hoover on. And it didn't have a way to adjust it. It didn't really have an adjustment that allowed you to move with the carpet. And so that was kind of a bit awkward. Well, this new one, well, you put the nozzle, it's just on the end of a wandy thing. 23 feet, well done. Glad to hear it. Well done, that's a big improvement. That's what? Nearly 8 times the distance you made last time. 6, whatever the fuck, I don't know. My brain's not braining today. But yeah, so my new carpet cleaner is very much alive and well. But then I have to go through water. Holy crap. I do need to read the instructions because one thing did confuse me. I will point out, like all good people, I did not read a single instruction before putting it together. I did well, that doesn't fit on there. Oh, that fits on there. Okay, well, that goes to there and that goes to there, and you clip that in there. That makes logical sense, and lo and behold, it did work. So, you know. But there are 2 buttons. One for pumping water and one for... one will pump water if you squeeze the nozzle, and one for sucking. Now, obviously, you can turn both on at the same time. However, if you have the sucking on at the same time as the squirting, even if it's up in the air and you would expect the water to dribble on the floor, it seems to vaporise because it doesn't seem to go back up the hose, but it doesn't land on the floor either. So I'm not so sure it actually does both at the same time. So you might have to squirt and then suck. That's fine. It's got really big buttons so you can bop with your feet. You don't have to bend down and do that. But it does sucketh very well. Almost a little too well, like the Dyson. So I have a lot of confidence that it might be able to clean the carpets in a sufficiently cleaning carpet kind of way. Now, my carpets do look... They look like they went to war and lost. In part because, well, as I explained, the last one didn't really suck up the water, so it didn't tend to bother. It did have like a spot tool thing on it, but have you really tried doing an entire carpet with like a 2-inch spot tool? It takes a long time, so it's not ideal. I have done it and it did look a lot better for it, but this is, well, designed to be better. This is, as I say, because it goes on the carpet and has a real hefty suck to it, it does very much pick up all the water. So I haven't done it on the carpet. I've got this kind of felty rubber back shit in my kitchen, and it's done a really good job on that. Because I know the first time I did that, I was kind of surprised how dirty it was. But of course it's also the kitchen. So, you know, whenever you hoover the carpets, you don't tend to hoover your kitchen. And so although it's got this kind of fuzzy, felty kind of aspect to it, it's not really carpet, but it's not exactly lino either. But it is very much waterproof and washable. So I can foresee that I'm going to have to do plenty of that. I need to work out how to attach the big handle to it, because I think that will help. Because it's got like a squeezy handle, a bit like a petrol stroke gas pot filling kind of handle, but that's kind of the wrong height for me. I suffer from wrong height with a lot of things. My counter in the kitchen is too low, the lawnmower is too low, the hoover is too low. They're all right, they're a good angle when I'm standing up, But to push it around the floor so that it's actually working, generally, of course, you have the device at a bit of an angle, even if it's not a lot of an angle, but still a bit of an angle. Now it's too low for me and gives me chronic backache. So I end up doing just these tiny amounts of it, and getting really frustrated because my back's killing me and I've done bugger all of nothing, and now I'm having to sit down for 10 minutes while my back chills out, and it is quite hard going. So but if I'm off the next few days, it is something that I could do that would be good, which I need to do. I need to do good things. I need to cheer myself up a bit. So the carpet cleaner came at the right time. Nauticat will also be semi-pleased to hear that I found fairly cheap a potential bolster holder thing for my big round lace duty thingy bob. It may not be perfect. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not perfect, but for the amount of money, it wasn't bad. But it is designed for it. So it's got, if you think of a bolster pillow, which is of course round like a pill, the back's higher than the front, so it will kind of grab it a bit at the back so that you can't push it away too much. But it's a simple X-frame idea, but with, it's also got kind of roundy tops, but it's also got string to hold the X-frame up, so you can adjust the height, therefore it can adjust the width of the bolster thingy it will take. So I have reasonable hope that it will hold it. It might be a bit skinny, because obviously my big bolster pillow is quite long, but as long as it's fairly stable on its legs, it should be good. Might not enjoy if I walked into it, but then nothing was going to enjoy that, so never mind. But let us get down to the thing in question. So we are here to make some lace. Here we go. So when we left it last time, oh dear God, that looks a bit drunk, doesn't it? Okay. Just checking where everything is. So when I left it last time, we had redone the last centimetre because numbnuts here hadn't got it straight. And as a result of not getting it straight, it meant that when I did this bit over here, which I chose to do first, not that it needed to be done first, but it's one side or the other kind of thing, well, the holes didn't really line up, so then I didn't have enough, I had too many things for the holes in question. And that sounds a bit Irish, I know, and I get that, so I shall try and explain a little bit more. Let me move the mic up slightly, because I'm about to bang it with my hand too much. There we go. So, the problem was, when I came to do, say, this pin here, well, I had, it should go there, and that goes up like that, and that goes like that, and this one goes into that pin. The problem was, because this was too far up, this went into what looked like the diagonal pin, but then I still had like 3 things and I need 2 pinholes, and it's like, that doesn't work out, that doesn't add up. So we ended up pulling it all apart and straightening it all up, and get a bit grumpy because it took frigging forever. It really did take forever. I think it was, what was it, 10 a bit hours to undo 1 centimetre and redo it. So an entire stream was dedicated to redoing basically what I'd done the day before, only with slightly less screw up in it, or at least differently screwed up, because we all know that that's definitely a thing with me, is that just because it doesn't look screwed up doesn't mean it isn't. So let's see, you are twisted, you are not twisted. We need to 1, 2, 1, 2. So then we need to do the magic doodad. So yes, I do thank you for being here today. That is very much appreciated. I do like it when people come see me. Yoink. Oh, and I broke my nail on the new carpet cleaner. And so, not that I particularly have nails, I'm not exactly the girliest girl, but it kind of ripped down to the string, to the skin, and so, well, now I haven't got my pin picking nail, which is slightly irritating, because, well, it's my pin pricking nail. Basically, there's a little compartment that they stored some, I was about to call them dishwasher tablets, but they're the carpet washer tablets. Same fucking deal, frankly. It really is the same fucking shit, I swear. In fact, it probably worked just as well. Because, of course, it's designed for grease, so carpet would be great. But the little latch on it was one of those, it's kind of got a finger hole, so you put your finger in the finger hole, but you have to kind of do this to pull it up. And, well, I did that, and it didn't come, so and then my nail went, and kind of ripped halfway across my fingernail, and I can't cope with fingernails that catch on everything, because it just drives me up the wall. So I had to kind of rip it off, and in doing so, of course, there was nearly blood. There was no blood, but there was. It really does feel like there was very nearly blood. It possibly thought about it, because, as I say, it is very, very close there. But I then sort of filed it a little bit to make it, less catchy and rough at the edges. So, not one of the better moments in life, but here we go. We are where we're at. Right, down to the twisty bit. Did you have a nice dinner? Was your eating choice room cleaner than it was before? Hello, Amy. Hello, little one. You really are annoying. You know that. We were discussing this earlier. You're annoying. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So, I would ask, if you can at all this week, people, my dear friends, do drop by my stream and check on me, because I really could use that right now. It helps my problems seem smaller. In essence, I suffer depression, and have done for many years, and due to being weird as I am, I do depression differently to others, which is traditional to those of us who are a little bit neurospicy. But in that, in the better moments, not that there are many, I can tell that there's something wrong, and that depending on what is going on, I can be quite lucid and clear about the issues. When I'm not so much, all I know is that I'm a worthless useless sack of crap, and that frankly the world would be better off without me, and I can justify it fully. As a result, I do not fit in the grand scheme of many things, because for an awful lot of people, depression, while it is a recognised and very well known problem in life, our wonderful NHS is not really capable of dealing with depressed but rational people. They only really have workings for the non-rational people. But of course, I can justify. Now, it may not be technically properly justified, so I will say, I could say I'm crap because, this happened or that happened, or, this person got promoted, or this person earns more than me, and, I can give a justification, but no one says that the justification's actually true. It might be a justification, it's a plausible justification, but it's not necessarily actually true. And so because I am aware and able to justify why I am not worthy, and why you know, here is a list of mistakes that I made today, kind of, here is my stupidity example, and here is my why I, you know, why the world would be better off without me example, and I can do a whole load of those. No one knows how to help me. But I know things that help me. I know things that don't help me. And I'm not very good at explaining them, which I will wholly admit to, in that I once very strongly advised that, so, most of us are adults, and at some point we have loved somebody or something almost irrationally to an insane amount where, you know, you were prepared to change things about your life or move somewhere you probably wouldn't have chosen to if you weren't, and, you know, or do something, you know. I will use an example of one of my friends, and this man frankly should be heralded as the man of all men and the saviour of the universe, for he took his wife, who is an obsessive Strictly Come Dancing fan, to watch Strictly. He would rather put his knackers live through a meat grinder, but because he loves his wife with all his heart, and he is the loveliest, kindest dude in the history of dudes, he took her to see Strictly. And obviously wanted to bleach his eyeballs and, you know, all of it, and preferably would be struck with deafness as well. You know, if he could be blind and deaf for the duration, it would probably help. And he didn't enjoy it. He absolutely hated it. But his wife loved it, and so that made him happy. Ish. Obviously, because, you know, he was traumatised by the Strictly, but he did at least have a happy wife afterwards. And you know, so I know sometimes that there are things that I can do that will make me feel less crappy about myself. But at the same time, I can't always explain to another person how it helps, only that X might help, right? And that, you know, I have this kind of inbound feeling that X is a good plan. So I feel it would be beneficial to me to hear from you guys, and to feel that you know, that you're checking up on me a bit, because, well, that makes me feel like somebody cares. And as I have no parents to take that usual kind of path for me, it would be appreciated if the nice random strangers on the internet could find their way to do a little bit of that for me, to help me with my problem. If you can't, you can't. That's fine. It's not your fault. It's not your problem, and I totally agree with that. But if you can, know that it would mean quite a bit to me if you could. So, with that in mind, I hope to get some sleep. I hope to do more of this. I hope to play Monsters and Memories. I hope to play Path of Exile. Thank you, Bailey. As I said, I do understand that it is not always, you know, absolutely possible. And, you know, you've all got lives to live and things to do. And I am, after all, just a random dude out here on the internet. But it will help. I know it will help that, you know, someone saying, hey, you know, you all right? You know, what have you been up to today? Just making me feel part of the population. In my lovely hermit manner, of course, because please don't expect me to go anywhere. But, I mean, let's face it, when I spoke to the doctor today, I had a choice of going in or a phone. Why in God's name makes you think I want to meet the dude? And it was just as well, because I probably would have slapped him. He was not helpful. He was not a helpful dude. He did not help. Typical. Yeah, I was distinctly unimpressed. And I'm sure I will hear from it, but, you know. Yeah, I know. Whatever. Whatever, dude. You were not helping. You know how, like, you know, it's a bit like if you're watching a film and your brain just goes, you know what? This film is shit. So you turn over. My brain kind of wanted to do that. My brain was looking for the change channel, you know, kind of like, are we done yet kind of button, because the guy didn't help. He sounded 12. He didn't act like he cared at all in any shape or form. I mean, obviously he doesn't care. He's never met me, but and he probably never will at this rate. But because, well, I'm not sure I'd go to an appointment with him if I didn't have to. So yeah, I find myself very kind of frustrated with him, and at the moment, you know, hating on him works. That's a good thing. Gives me something that I can be pissed about, and genuinely pissed about, and people will understand, you know. Because I think sometimes one of the biggest problems with depression is that you can be really miserable, and it does not have to be over an actually tangible good excuse. So, for example, the loss of a dog, a loss of a parent, a loss of a job, you know, pain, lots of things will, when people go, oh, that's terrible, and they understand. When you just wake up one morning and your brain just goes, done. I have no interest in the proceedings. I don't enjoy it. I'm not interested. I can't be bothered. You're all just assholes. I just, you know, when it kind of checks out, and it people can't relate to that, because it's a bit like the hidden disability, right? In the, you know, just because you don't look wonky doesn't mean you're right. And for me, I've suffered with that, because a lot. You know, I spent quite a while being very miserable, and they even had to kind of fairly heavily medicate me for the privilege, but I didn't really do very well on the meds, so I'm kind of trying to avoid those, because, well, as we all know, the world is kind of a uppy downy graph. There are days when you're happy for no fucking good reason. There are days when you're not so happy for no good reason. There are things to be happy about. There are things to be sad about. And there are some things which genuinely you should be sad about. You know, if you've lost, you know, a member of your family, whether it had fur or skin is beside the point. If you're happy about it, there's something wrong with you, right? So there aren't, you know, if you've just been told that you've got some really hideous illness and they don't know what they can do for you, being miserable is the right answer. It's not helpful, but it is how, you know, you have every right to feel that. And I think one of the things is that sometimes we do forget as a society now that not everything has to be right. Not everything can be right all the time for everybody. And so, you know, in essence, being miserable is still very, very valid. And it can be the right place to be. You know, if you're struggling and you've got lots of crap on at work and you're really stressed, you can be miserable because you feel like you're failing because you're not doing the thing. What's failing is the fact that maybe too much was asked of you and you are not at a level where you are capable. Maybe nobody is capable of that. But if they thought, oh, well, yeah, but they're so good at it and they always do these things really easily, and, well, maybe not this time. Maybe today your brain isn't braining and you just look at it kind of blinking going, stuff. You know, it's not always, we're not always 100% at our best. And as I said, you know, everybody has a bit of a uppy downy kind of roller coaster of emotions throughout, you know, the week, month. Where, you know, if you're having it by the hour, you're probably PMS. But, you know, if you you know, it depends on what goes on around you. And it's not always the going on around you that is the cause, but it might be one of the obvious symptoms. It might be an easy thing to look at and go, well, that's really not helping. And so, yeah, I've battled this for many, many years now. Best part of 20 years. I've been doing it for quite a while. And for the most part, I have moments of weakness, but they pass. Well, I let my boss know yesterday that I'd realised over the last week, even though I don't actually remember any much of the last week, the only thing I remember of last week was the bank holiday Sunday. My boss sent me a message, even though I wasn't on call and I was on holiday. And then the next thing I remember, it was Friday and Path of Exile 2 was coming out, and Friday happened to be 2 days long because I didn't go to bed, and then it was Sunday, and then it was Monday, and that was really all I remember of last week. And yet I know I didn't sleep through it all. I know I was alive through it all, but I don't remember any of it. And that is not like me. I normally remember stuff. I'm normally the one who remembers seeing this and that was there, and you know, all of those kind of things. I mean, for those playing Monsters and Memories, you will know that I might not be able to name the NPC, but if you tell me his name or you tell me what he's supposed to be doing, I will know where he is. I have all of that in my head. Right now, I can't even remember half my characters' names, and most of them start with Liz Biscuits. So, you know, it is. I know that I am not being my normal self. And I want to make sure I don't become worse. Now, there might be an element of getting a little bit worse before you get better, you know. Got to bounce off something after all. But, I don't want to be the person I was last time. I don't want to get that far. And so it is important to me to find things to focus on. So I should have no excuse for not streaming because, well, I can get some sleep. Well, we all know how that worked out last week. Because, well, of course, it is the Monsters and Memories playtest, and I'll be tempted to play that. I've got cleaning to do, which, well, I've always got cleaning to do because I don't do it, if I can help it. But I think, you know, the fact that, I mean, I know that I do joke about the fact that my house is a mess and, you know, and for the large part it doesn't bother me because it really doesn't. But what I do know is that it would bother other people, and that bothers me. It's not, and I can't necessarily explain that, is that I don't care. I don't care as long as I can walk through it and it's not smelly, and I don't care. If there's a big pile of books or cardboard over there, I can walk around that. You know, that's all that matters. Its existence does not faze me one way or the other. It doesn't make me happy, but it doesn't make me sad either. So, I don't know. I just want to kind of feel a little bit more in my own head that I am not on the verge of having a problem. Because as I say, kind of been there, didn't enjoy it. As the phrase goes, you know, it's 2 out of 10. Crap. There's a meme kind of video short thing going around about this girl who goes, for all of you with big titties, what's it like? And this woman who's clearly built a bit like me goes, 2 out of 10, ghetto, do not recommend. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of where my brain's at the moment. 2 out of 10, do not recommend. Can we not? So yeah, I will. But I should be able to, you know, do some more of this. I've done a bit more of my tatting. Did a bit more of this. Not a lot, so don't get too excited. But I have made start on the next white hexagon. As you can see, there's the edge corner of the white hexagon coming along. Do a bit more of that because I do that when I'm not talking to you lot. I can do that while watching telly, sort of thing. Because, well, it would look better if it was perfect. Do not get me wrong, I am aware of that. But I'm not unhappy with it. I kind of like it. So, that'll do me just dandy. If it was perfect, would I love it? Of course I would. But as we all know, diminishing returns. sometimes to achieve perfection takes like 20 times longer and is only for that one last percent, and it's not worth the effort. And I kind of feel that way a bit. I mean, many of these little flowery bits have issues, but you can't really tell, so they're not big enough, you know. But I really do like it. I enjoy doing it. It's quite nice. I've stopped managing to annoy my finger. The kind of neurotypical part of the finger was kind of going, I do not like being rubbed by this needle every time you do that, because you would run the needle up your finger a bit, and it would kind of go, I don't like that, I don't like that. And so I don't do that now. I've managed to work out how to do it without. I also, you may recall, you may not, I may not have told you actually, I found tiny shuttle things, tatting shells, that's the word I was after, tatting shells, and oops, it's alive. They really are quite small. I don't have, where's my normal one gone? Oh, there it is. This is a normal tatting shuttle, okay? And it's not huge. I mean, there's my hand, it's not huge. But one of the things that I did have a problem was that when you've kind of done weirdy things with threads and you've got, you know, your hand kind of like this holding threads, to try and go under and over and get the end round, it was a lot of work. Now I'm trying to roll this one up. The biggest problem I have is these are not consistent. So I have left less than a 5-star review for them, but the actual concept is bang on. The idea for these is truly great. It's just that, I mean, apparently they're printed and hand finished. So I'm going to suggest some of these things, you know, not all things are equal, because I've got 3 different colours. Cost a small arm and a leg, but we'll ignore that point for now. So I'm just trying to wind it back, and it would have been easier to take the bobbin out, to be honest. But I didn't, so go with me. Actually, I will. Hang on. Again, getting things out of things is not being my strong point, which again tells me that something's not right, because, you know, I'm struggling to do some of the basic things that really should be quite obvious, and my brain's just kind of go, no, I don't get that. So let me finish. Let me wind this bobbin up a bit easier now I've taken it out the dirty. Right, put the thing back in the thing. Okay, so I now have this little shell again for comparative size. It is tiny, and because you hold it kind of like a Tipex thing, right, there's a lot of room. So when you're doing this and you have to pass it backwards and forwards, it fits quite nicely. So I got the blue one, and I really quite liked it, and I managed to do proper shuttle tatting with the whole yarn thing and not having to do it a weirdy way. So I ordered 2 more, and I got a pink one, which is a little looser. So for example, if I now try and undo this thread, and if I hold this, even if I hold it by like this bit and pull this, you have no idea how hard I'm actually pulling there. That's quite a lot. If I do this on this one moves a bit more freely, and at least that one does move. This one, the little black one, this one's super cool because he's really whizzy, right? So he's my favourite, because he's not grabbing the bobbin, he's very much just holding it in place like he should be. But I do now have these 2, because when doing the shuttle thing, when you do a needle one, you take an end of string. Hang on, I need some string. There's a piece of string, right? You have some string, so let's say this end is going to my bobbin, and you wrap this round like this, and then, sorry, we're not doing it that way. So you have say, I don't know, this end through a needle, you hold you hold it up against the needle, so you make a bit of a loop like this, and then you put this one round and round and round, and then you pull that one through. So this bit can actually be pretty near the end, because while you do pick this out, you don't need that much of the end. So you make a little flowery shape, and well, you don't need that much. Whereas the shuttle tatting, you often end up with two on the go at the same time, so that you can do a loopy bit by winding it round, and it's not actually the winding it round that makes the loop, it's the fact that this end is attached to the end of, how do I explain it? If you're doing this and there's that end and there's the other end, this comes around like here. This then is used to, as you're go back and forth bobbing, and this makes your new knots, and then you tag on it to pull it through. So if you want to make a chain of them, i.e. it's not a loop, you actually need a second shuttle to hold an end on it. It's a bit weird. And in your head hurts because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And that's fine, because that's kind of where my head's at now. But having two shuttles means that you can do two colour work as well. So you can kind of, you know, make it a bit more intricate with different coloured bits here and there by using the different threads. So with that in mind, that sounds quite nice. I will say that the book that I've ordered has not yet come, which is slightly irritating, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. So yes, it is very much a thing. Oh, excuse me. Yawns already, huh? Yeah, very good. Oh, I do love this. Either I'm doing something and there is not a dog to be found, or I'm doing something and there's a dog eating it. Big yawn for me. Oops, I didn't put my pin in there. It's time to come through there. Oh dear. See, once again, I've been fine all afternoon. The moment I start streaming, yawning. It's like my brain tries to rebel. Oh look, spam bot. When you discover eventually that Twitch has got a ban limit, because obviously the first thing I do is ban them. But I think they get deleted because it usually kind of then goes to unknown user. So as long as that's the case, it shouldn't fill up your ban list. So, but it would be just about right that there's actually a ban list quota. So. Hey Netkiss, how you doing? Anyone here a bit of a weird? So anyone who's seen Harry Potter, you don't have to be a big fan, but who's also seen Event Horizon? Anyone? Yay! Well done, Nautica. Is that Jason Isaacs, Bailey? I guess. Come on, I'm dyslexic. I make up words all the time. Is that Jason Isaacs, i.e. the guy who plays Lucius Malfoy from Harry Potter? Not the captain dude. Kind of like his best mate dude that knows Latin. Who goes... I think he's saying tutame, and then he goes... And then it's like... and it kind of like, save me, and then he realises it's save yourself. That dude. Is that Jason Isaacs, or is that my imagination? My brain's just decided to question this. and is being somewhat distracting about the matter. As brains do when they sit there going, oh, is that so-and-so who played such and such? Okay, it is. Hooray. Well done, brain cell. You got it right. Congratulations. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's done the, but that looks like so-and-so. It looks nothing like it. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. I tend to do that a lot. The funniest one was Trev and I went to see X-Men. Trying to work out what it was. No, it wasn't X-Men. What was it? Wasn't X-Men. We went to see something, and the guy who plays Hank, the blue monster in X-Men. Now, you're going to have to forgive me for this, and I will have to just nod quietly and pretend like I know. Trevor and I were watching a film, and I went, oh, that's Hank from X-Men. Trevor's not going, no, it's not. It's some dude from Seinfeld or something, right? And I'm kind of going, no, it's Hank. It's the same dude. He hadn't seen that Hank was the same dude. I didn't ever watch Seinfeld, so I'd never watched it. So there we were disagreeing on the fact that we were agreeing it was the same dude. We've also done that. He's also done that one to me with Tommy Lee Jones. We were watching something, and it was a trailer, and I went, oh, it's Tommy Lee Jones. No, it's not. Bloody was. Thank you very much. We famously spent a week trying to name the guy from Falling Down. We knew it wasn't the guy, but because of course it's Michael Douglas. I went with Kurt Russell, knowing it wasn't Kurt Russell, but that's what my brain kept coming up with. And do you know why my brain keeps coming up with Kurt Russell? Did you know that Michael Douglas is actually Kurt? No, he's Kurt Douglas's dad. And so, of course, because they look kind of... Kurt Douglas doesn't look anything like him, mind. But it was close and my brain wouldn't let go of it. Trev was convinced his name was Steven Seagal. And I'm like, no, definitely not that one. No, I know that's definitely not a good one. No, he's definitely not him. And brains are terrible for it. I was really quick to spot Christopher Lloyd in Star Trek 3. I sometimes my brain's really on fire and goes, that kind of heavily made up obscure dude that you only got 5 seconds of, I recognise him, he played such and such. It was the same as wasn't Heimdall, but the guy who replaces Heimdall in Thor, who has the machine guns and all the rest of it. That's Dr. McCoy from the new version of Star Trek. And so, of course, we had a bit of a, no, it's not, yes, it is moment over that. And I'm right. I have been wrong on many occasions. I just can't name them because, of course, why would I commit to memory all my failings? I'm very good at, although I am very good at committing to memory my failures, I tend to remember the generic failure rather than the specific failure. But yeah, I'm terrible for trying to identify actors in things because I might be able to. My biggest problem is that I'm terrible with the actual actors' names because, no offence, I've never met them, right? It's easy to confuse people. But at the same time, I can often name 20 other things that they've been in and what characters they were. So, you know, you end up with, but that's so-and-so from such and such. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. And you get to IMDb, and first of all, I find out what their name actually is. And then, of course, I'm either right or wrong. Now, sometimes I am wrong, sometimes I am right. Sometimes it really is the most obscure person in the background, and I'm going, but that's so-and-so. They're bigs, they're famous. Why are they, like, you know, also round, you know, crowned person number 26, you know. And they're not really cameo roles. They were just kind of like less important in that scene. You see a lot in Doctor Who, that an awful lot, not always, but an awful lot of the people that they have come in have already been in Doctor Who. You just maybe didn't spot them. Amy was in Pyrovilia, the one where the Pyrovillian invade Vesuvius and make it erupt. She was one of the women with the eyes that cover the thing. She was one of the people in that. Obviously, Martha Jones was the girl who was having a fling and got turned into a Cyberman fairly early on in The Death of Rose Tyler. Peter Capaldi was, of course, in Vesuvius, erupting. It's, you know, they all been, you know, they all seem to have been in it before, almost, as almost a test run of, did people hate you? And I don't disagree with that, but I think the biggest problem with the Martha Jones one was that the Death of Rose Tyler and the transition to Martha Jones kind of were like 2 episodes later. It felt a little bit quick. We hadn't forgotten her face yet. At least with Amy in the Sibylline thing, chances are you never spotted her, and she was heavily made up, and most of the time you only really saw her hands in front of her face with an eyeball drawn on it. So you can be forgiven for not remembering, right? Peter Capaldi was very upfront and very visible. So if you missed that, well, you slept through that one. But I really do need to have done that. Okay, we need to go and package up some of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can live without you for a second. So I'll put you away. Put you up there. Keep arm butting the microphone. I do apologise. Yeah. And then we need 1, 2, 3. So, any of you been playing Path of Exile 2 since it came out Friday evening? If not, that's perfectly understandable. If you have, that's also perfectly understandable. I royally suck at it, so it's not the best use of my time. Something I'd like also to try and get some work done on is playing around with my game I was making. But again, you know, even if I say I have the rest of this week off when I go back to work next Monday, well, there's only 3 days left, and technically in my world that's 2.5. Wednesday, Thursday, and half of Friday. So it does disappear quite quickly. Even though 3 days is a reasonable amount of time. I mean, if you've tried staying awake for 3 days, that's a heck of a long time. But it doesn't have to disappear if you're not careful. My finger's sore. I bust me now. So in case those who were wondering what Nautica was on about, Nautica was making something and struggling because, you know, a piece of rope was only so long. And, you know, distance from A to B is so far, therefore I can only fit so much in it. And Liz Brainstar went, well, I do something very similar when I'm warping a weaving loom, and I do this. And the little face of Nautica kind of went, And Nautica has clearly been... And Nautica knew exactly what I meant after I described it a bit. And has clearly set it up. So, go Nautica. But you see, this is where one of the things, I said this to Nautica earlier, is that it is kind of funny how, you know, Nautica and I do not share a craft, really. But sometimes things from craft A can leak to craft B, and they might be on a bigger scale, smaller scale, whatever. For example, what the hell was that? Hang on, let me take my earpiece out a sec. I am confident this is a moth. I can hear little what sound a bit like, and I think it's a moth flapping around inside my lamp, because of course it's dark here. Pretty sure that's what that's all about. How many have I got in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You need one back. Okay. Yoink. 7, yeah, we can do you. Winding up for the motif in the middle. Want you. Get off there. And you. You move it that. We have you. That. So we need 3. looks a bit big. Yeah, well, not crossed enough. Unfortunately, of course, you would be the first one. You couldn't be the last one. It would be easier to fix. Of course not. Let's try this again. Excellent. That's okay, not to count. You know, it's... I mean, like, I didn't know the name of any of the knots that you might use, but you still understood what I was trying to explain to you. And, you know, even if what you're doing is not exactly what I meant, you know, it's, if you've got something that now works, hallelujah, right? But if you actually watch quite a few warping videos for weaving, you will see that using basically, you know, in our case, an S hook or whatever, and shoving, that's how an awful lot of people have to warp their looms, because, you know, like me, and as I said, you know, warping is generally supposed to be a 2 or 3 person event, sometimes 4 depending on the loom, and, well, if you live on your own, you have to get inventive. So this is what we came up with as a community. Now, obviously, I was not partaking of the thinking of this, but I have embraced it wholly because well, it's fucking genius shit. And yeah, so simple when you think about it. It's fucking obvious when you think about it. So yeah, I love it. It's a great and glorious thing because it means I can do my hobby and I don't have to annoy the living crap out of people I know to say, "Oh, I need you to help me warp my loom," and to hear them go, "Oh, fuck, not again." I mean, I will say I don't enjoy warping my loom. Well, it's not true. I don't hate it. I just don't enjoy it. Well, it's like everything. It's something to spread around and share. Because it's really not complicated. It's just a way to do it, you know. In warping terms, instead of pulleys, we use a trapeze, which is generally a piece of wood up high, so that it goes from low up high over the top to give us more room, and the distance from top to floor. And as I said, I bought 5-litre water jugs, and I swing them off my up. But what you can't really explain to a lot of people is that I could be weaving with threads finer than this. I'd still use my 5-litre water jugs. I really would. Because it will take it. Because the combined strength of all of those threads together is considerably more than when they're alone. And so, you know, you just kind of go for it. One thing I will show you is, because you might appreciate this for a different reason. Yeah, one thing that you might appreciate for a very different reason, right? Now, obviously, this is but a single thread of chunky brown shit. Let me put a cloth over it so you can actually see a little bit better. Right, hang on. Get away from the mayhem, put a cloth over it. So I've got my brown thing, right? Now, this could be a single piece of rope. It could be a collection of pieces of rope. And one thing we weavers do is a bit like the knot we were just using. You kind of do your slip knot with a thing, right? But you then chain through it like this. Now, obviously, you can use arms and hands and things, but you chain through it like this to get a less of a tail for a really long thing, rather than coiling it up where it might, cause mayhem and knot up. And then, of course, you've already got, in part, the chunk for your hook or in pencil, whatever it is, to go through. And then you might go down a couple and do the next one, so you put it through the next loop of the hook. And so in our case, you can have a lot more chain. I mean, that little chain I did was actually this much thread, so that was quite a lot of thread. So if I fold it in half, it still barely fits on my screen, but it made a chain of like this long. And that's the whole reason we do it. But part of the other reason we do it for warps is if you've got 100 threads in your hand, you need them all to stay roughly where you put them. So you chain them up because, well, it stops them as you... I mean, these things are alive, dude. So we do a lot of chaining, and it's great for controlling, because obviously you can do the chain quite tight, but you can also... it just means that you can have quite a lot of weight and length without dragging it around your carpet, especially if your carpet maybe could be cleaner and it's white. But also for the kind of slippy riggy kind of idea for us, this is why the S-hook works really well for me. Yeah, it's just one of those things is that so we call that chaining our warp, because when we make a crochet chain out of it. This is what made me think about it, is because that's exactly what you do when you make a crochet chain. You have a loop, you make a thing through it, you pull it through, you make a thing, you pull it through, you make a thing, you pull it through, you make a thing. You have just crocheted yourself a chain. Whether you're using handies or actual crochet hooks. It is kind of... And so it is amazing sometimes how... As I said, how one craft that appears totally unrelated... I mean, weaving and rope work is not something that you would necessarily have thought to go together. I mean, weaving and spinning, you might spin yourself some yarn to make on the weaving loom, but you're not going to make rope out of it, because you don't generally weave with a weaving loom and rope. So, from that point of view, yeah, you'd never... But they do overlap. And not always in the ways that you think. As I said, your yarn, what I would call a fringe twister, is, what we have is usually a plank of wood, not dissimilar in size to this, with a number of, we say 3 or 4 little crocodile clips through it, which are then attached to a piece of wood that you can do this to. So you individually wind the 4 bits of thread, and then you fold them back on each other and go ding, and they turn into little twisty doodads. Right? It's definitely a thing. So well, that's pretty. I like your mirror thing. That's pretty. Yes, for once in the world, people, that was not my co-worker. Who I think suddenly realised when I said to them, because when they were off with stress, all I ever did was give them things to laugh about. And one of the first things they came to was, "Boss has asked me to ask you..." Dude. Hello, Mika Ketsumi, how are you? Aha! Hello. Hello to the in-laws. I know, even if they can't see me, still polite. Although Nautica will vouch, what I said earlier was not polite earlier at all, but It was not directed at Naughty Celt, just Naughty Celt was listening. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, you said it's going to be birthday time soon, isn't it? For father-in-law. Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out at your in-laws to come and listen to me talk about lots of bollocks. As inevitably, I do talk lots of bollocks. But you see, I do remember it. And sometimes that's the best thing. I mean, I learned that about my dad, obviously before he passed, but I learned that about my dad, was that if I planned to go see him, I had a miserable time. Not because I was intending to have a miserable time, but because, yeah, my dad, if I planned to go and see my dad, so let's say I'm bored tomorrow, I'm going to go and see my dad, right? And I phone up my dad and go, hi Dad, it's all right if I come and see you, say Saturday, whenever it is, right? And he'll go, yeah. Right, I'll see you about 11 o'clock, Dad. He will have had his lunch to make sure he doesn't have lunch when I'm there. But of course, I've been on the road for a couple of hours, so I'm fucking hungry. He then will talk about ballet, dog poo, and leaves for a couple of hours. Not off you drink. Not off sort of go, are you hungry? Do you need, do you want to go out and get a sandwich? Because, maybe he hasn't got anything, it's not like I'm expecting him to have anything. But he's kind of, you feel kind of guilty to kind of go, hi, I'm just going to pop out to the shops, you old fart, see you later, right? You don't really want to do that. So I used to go down, so I didn't get any lunch. And then, of course, I'd have to drive home. And because you could see he'd start getting twitchy about 3:30 to make sure that I'd left so he had time to cook his dinner. And so I'd be there for like 4 or 5 hours, no drink, no food. And it was almost like, oh, you came. Well, and one Christmas was the epitome of that, and it was one of the most unpleasant Christmases I'd had, even compared to the ones of my childhood. Anyway, the following year, I had kind of excused myself on Christmas Day, following the events of the former year, and Trev and I were going to go and have a meal at a local place that was doing Christmas dinners. And my dad was quite happy with that, and I said, I don't want you to feel like you've got to feed me and stuff, so I'll come down at some point over Christmas. Well, went to Christmas dinner. Trev didn't feel very well. And so, well, we'd kind of talked about doing something after Christmas meal, taking dog for a walk, whatever. And so on the way home from said Christmas meal, my brain went, well, fuck it, why not drive down to London? I mean, it's a 2-hour drive, but yeah, fuck it, let's drive to London. So I didn't stop at my house. I drove from the mill to London. Ding dong. Who? Hi. That was the most pleasant visit I ever had with my dad. And so every year, I would not tell him when I was coming, and I would show up. Sometimes it was Boxing Day, sometimes it was Christmas Day. But I did not tell him when I was coming. And then every visit I had for Christmas with my dad was pleasurable. Because he was not stressing about whether he had to feed me and, whether he got enough food in and had he cooked it properly. And he didn't have to worry about all of that. I'd already had Christmas dinner. It was not why I was coming. I was coming to see my dad. He would then offer me a cup of tea. He would then have a chat about random shit. We had a much better time. And so I found, so I almost, and obviously there were times during the year I wouldn't just randomly show up without kind of warning. But knowing that Boxing Day or Christmas Day or round about then, he would not have gone out, I'd just turn up. I also found the drive a lot better because you weren't battling with 50 million other assholes. And I mean, the only thing I did miss was that most years I went to see my dad for Christmas, I would go down Christmas Eve, I would stay Christmas Day, and return early Boxing Day, right? And every year, even though I didn't leave at exactly the same time, every year within almost 100 yards, I would pass my mate as they were going to Kent. And it would be as we drove past each other. Because, you know, we knew each other's car, obviously. And he'd be driving along and go, there they are, look. And it would almost be within 100 yards. And that was always kind of nice. You know, it was a bit of a, you know, after, you know, halfway through a journey, because it was pretty much in the middle. It was a great way of, it was a great way to perk up a bit of a journey. Oh, you know, I saw my mate, I feel better now. And so, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I did miss that aspect of it. Because obviously, going down randomly, I was usually now going in the same direction as my friend, and usually later in the day, so I didn't see them. But it was all, you know, like everything, it was kind of, you know, because I don't, you know, you get a text from one of their passengers, we saw you, you know. And, you know, it just made it a nice kind of fun thing, looking to see if you saw your friend on the way. But yeah, that year it was just fuck it, let's just keep driving and go to London. Bollocks, got petrol in the car, yay, let's go. And it turned out to be the best journey, the best trip I'd had. And it was kind of like, I'm doing this again. So yeah, sometimes surprise. I mean, obviously not everyone does surprises well. And obviously for me, should my dad have discovered a social life, I mean, my dad was a bit like me, so, you know, let's not pretend that was going to happen too much of a likelihood. But it could easily have been that he'd gone out dog walking, or he'd gone round to see someone, or, you know, fallen asleep and wasn't answering the door, or, you know. But it was so nice to have such a pleasurable visit when the few preceding ones have been bloody awful. That it really did make it worth it. So to that extent, it obviously meant that, you know, when he did finally pass away, I had a lot more pleasurable memories with my dad in the last years than I probably would have done if we'd stuck with the original plan. So, yeah. Surprises can be good. I've had a few surprise visitors. I have some friends who they use the garage just around the corner from here. I say garage, it's not a garage. It's a man in a hut who repairs cars and does it for a reasonable rate rather than the extortion that usually follows. And so when they're getting their MOT and stuff, ding dong, huh? What? You do know I'm working, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what do I do with you then while I'm supposed to be working? You know. I mean, I'm quite good at talking and doing, as we can. Well, for the most part, depends what I'm doing. If I need to count, I'm not very good at talking and counting. It's kind of weird. There are things I can do, and I can hold two conversations, so I can type an email and hold a conversation. I cannot type lyrics and sing another set, but I can sing a song and type an email. I just can't have two different songs trying to live in my head at the same time. I don't feel that this is a particularly lacking skill. You know, there are very few situations where this would be beneficial. I can still remember the day I found out just how much I sucked at that. I was trying to write the lyrics down for Johnny Logan, Hold Me Now, which was a Eurovision Song Contest entry winner thingy. and I was listening to something else. The something else escapes me, but I could not write those lyrics down and sing the song at the same time. And I was actually quite surprised at how hard it actually was. Might actually have been even the other Johnny Logan Eurovision entry, because he did two, I seem to recall. Did the nasty fly land on the puppy dog? It did. I haven't seen the fly today, actually. Maybe it died. Maybe it finally bit the dust. But the way the dog just leapt was very much like the fly had landed on its nose. My brain's kind of got hankering now. Hang on. It's not what I wanted. There it is. Let me click some buttons, as I do, and you too can enjoy the sunny delights of Johnny Logan and Hold Me Now, for those who did not know what it was. For some reason that's really quiet in my ear today. There you go, that's a bit better. Actually, let's undo this slightly, because I need to give it a bit of a tug-eth. I want to give that a bit of tug-eth, I think. Take this one out, which is the sister of that one. So we need to go tug. you a second. I'll do you first. I think this time we'll go with this one, which is kind of the same lyrics but not. Alright. This bobbin needs serious rewind. Let's take a moment to do that. bit of a dumb move. Stupid one. 4 of these. Yeah, nice fault. The short answer is not as good as I should have been. I took an action today to deal with that. But hopefully I will be better soon. Thank you for asking. Well, it's always technically fixable. I'm miserable. I have for 20 odd years now suffered from depression. And the problem with my depression is that it's not irrational. It is always triggered by something. And as a result, there's not a lot they can do to fix me because, well, it's not just in my head. It's actually based in reality. And so I just need to give my brain space to do what it does best, which is talk a lot of crap and distract itself, and then suddenly it'll wake up going, oh, I know the answer to that, and act like it's perfectly rational. But until then, I have seen things within myself that are not good. I do want to stress strongly, I am not at the deleting oneself kind of moment. But at the same time, should I not wake up, I would not be unhappy about the idea. So it's kind of utter apathy. I really whatevs. And it means that, and I was kind of mumbling about it earlier and then kind of got distracted, as inevitably I do, because that's what my brain does best. But, you know, life generally has ups and downs, and part of the reason I suffered when they gave me medication before, well, I think we all do, and that's the thing. There are times when it is perfectly justifiable. So, for example, loss of a pet, parent, sibling, you know, member of the family, going through, you know, loss of your job, diagnosis perhaps of something rather unpleasant. If you're happy about it, there's something fucking wrong with you. But there is miserable and miserable. And I have no more to be miserable today than I did really last year or the year before. But at the same time, right here, right now, I am more miserable than I was last year and the year before. So I have recognised within me that there are a number of things around me that show me that I am more miserable than my brain was letting on. And I have taken a step today to do something about that. Which was that I have gone off work sick to mentally recoup myself a little bit. I had a fight with the doctor because it is and it isn't, because, well, for those of you who are on stream will know, not last Sunday, Sunday before, my boss tried to get hold of me because there was a problem at work, even though I'm not on call, I was on holiday. And to be honest, the moment I told him that I was going to log off now because I do not feel well enough to be doing this, and all the rest of it, we need a chat. No, we don't, because that sort of thing is exactly why I don't feel well enough. It is one of the contributing factors, and it's not that, I mean, he doesn't mean well. Irrelevant of what I think of my boss or not, as the case may be, I know that he didn't mean it out of harm. But like a lot of things, is that when you're talking to someone who's not feeling at their best right now, you've got to gauge it to where they're at, not where you're at. And part of the problem I was having was that tasks that I've shown other people how to do a bunch of times, they still can't manage to do without me. And I promise you now, there isn't one of you who couldn't have done it. It really was not hard. And especially as they've got notes on how to do it, and literally within an hour of me logging off to, go and count my fingers and toes, my co-worker sends me a message. Bear in mind, we talk a lot anyway, so this is not harassment. I don't include my co-worker in this, but he was having problems with work things and he just wanted someone to bitch at, so I'm up for a bitching, right? Because I know he's not bitching at me or about me, he's just bitching with me listening, if you get the difference. He mentioned that my manager had already asked him to ask me how to do something. That's the kind of thing that builds up in my mind. Is that we've been doing this 10 months now. If you can't do that level of simple thing without me, despite all the documentation, despite everything else, that is almost exactly why I am struggling. Because, I've brought up a couple of times to some of the people in the team. Is there any reason why you don't take tickets out of my queue? Oh, we don't feel confident. Well, let's face it. How many of you have, say, watched diving, gymnastics, whatever, and they've kind of run across the floor? Let's pick gymnastics, because I used to do gymnastics. So they've run across the floor, they've done a double front with a full twist or whatever, and you're like, wow. When you watch it, they make it look so easy. Yeah, have you ever tried that shit? You'll break your neck, right? Guarantee you. Watching someone else do it to follow what is required and to try and map out in your head the actions required to achieve something is one thing. When you're talking about something as simple as moving a file, no, that's kind of it. You should not need to be shown, especially when you feel that you should be a third or higher level engineer, to how to do it. And it has preyed on my mind that I have shown them and shown them and shown them, and they're still not confident, they're still not doing tickets. And when I said something like, well, when are you going to do it? Well, we're not confident yet. Well, you won't be unless you try. I mean, do you really think that those gymnasts did those double fronts with twist first time round? No, they fell on their arse and it hurt like hell. Probably quite a few times. Well, if you've seen some of the not the outtakes, but the practice stuff, if they screw up their landing, they're scared, land on their arse, chew the mat, whatever, right? And these are the people who do it all day, every day. So, it is one of those things, is that life is not easy and life is not sensible. But we are we all go up, we all have down. But one of the problems I had with the medication was that if you think of it like a sine wave, the meds didn't put me at 0. It didn't, instead of going from 1 to 1 like this, I was kind of going 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5. So at best I was meh. At worst I was, time to, go make a plan, right? Well, all the meds did was set me out at 2, -2. So I was just constantly miserable. I no longer even had times of meh, whatever. I was just constantly miserable. And the meds also made me itch like a mother. It made me feel like I got ants under my skin, and made worse by going out in sunlight. So if I went out in sunlight for even 5 minutes, I would spend the next 24 hours trying to rip my skin off because it itched like a mother. So in the end, I had to ask if I could be taken off them because, well, if you can't go out and enjoy the sunshine, what you're living for, So that was difficult, and so that was the last time I was on it. and I don't want to go there again if I can truly help it, because, well, they didn't exactly help. Um, it's just kind of me and my co-worker. I mean, he's had stress. He's had time off with stress over the last couple of years. I can't remember exactly when it was, but he had to have time off. And more to the point, I kept an eye on him because when he came back to work, there were times that I could see he was stressful before he did. And, you know, he's keeping an eye on me because he knows I live alone. So, not because he thinks that I won't, you know, I'll sneakily go and do something, but just, you know, kind of how you doing, you know, how you doing, you know, he's just sent me a text, how you doing this evening? But the truth of it is that joy is not here. I will say at the moment, sadness is not exactly, you know, the first word on my mind, but I'm not, it's just void. It's just, um, hang on. Hang on, I'm just typing back, hang on. Um, right, let's put these away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. The reason I wanted to get down this side bit, I need to go and do this corner because inch 11 was back here. So although we have technically breached inch number 11, it's a bit one-sided at the moment. So we're going to go back and do the other side now. And then I think I will put it a day. So, one of the things that I do strongly encourage you all to do is to join in Discord and chatter a bit. Well, join my Discord more accurately. For those who can. I know that not everybody can. But, you know, if you can, and you would, please join my Discord and talk to me a little bit. Because, you know, as I say, I live alone. I don't have a lot of things to hear and listen to. I am happy to listen to all random shit. Pretty much, just don't be a dick. That's the kind of rule of the Discord, is just don't be a dick. So you can, you know, you can post some wacky stuff. You can post some funny stuff. Just don't be the dude who posts the thing that, you know, kind of has to be banned for it. You know, if you feel that might be an option, probably not. But I know that not everybody, you know, that many of us have had times where we are struggling, and you know, I'd like to think that I would support someone in their time of need, and I know that I have in the past. And sometimes helping someone when you are struggling yourself actually is helpful for you because it distracts you from your own problems. And I know that, you know, the shrinks out there are going, oh, you're just avoiding your problem. Yeah, but sometimes you need to. Sometimes you need for your brain to stop freewheeling and going nuts about a problem that actually really kind of you're making a mountain about a molehill, and that you kind of, you know, it is actually helpful to go and do something that just totally distracts you, because your brain kind of goes, yeah, she's not that bad really, is it? No. And one of the other reasons I want to try and avoid the pill variety of things is that if you have an actual problem in your life, let's say you are up to your eyeballs in debt, not that I am, but let's pretend you're up to your eyeballs in debt, you're miserable because you're up to your eyeballs in debt, you can't afford anything, you can't afford food, you can't afford anything to cheer you up, you can't, you know, all of these kind of moments. You can't get a better job because you can't buy a suit to go and apply for the better job, you know, those kind of moments. A little white pill ain't going to change that. A little pill that you shove in your face every morning, it's not going to change it. Might change your point of view on it, but it doesn't change. Anyway. That's right, offering some advice. Let's bring this side down a bit because, well, then we've got a definite line. You know, well, as you can see, we've made it past the 10 inches was here, so 11 inches about here. So we're not far off, but you know, for some reason the next inch seems to be like 1.5 inches. Because, as I said, I know that the inches are not overly accurate. They're just kind of guidelines. And I kind of round them to the nearest pinhole. So, as it's not an exact inch sport. I mean, where's my tape measure? There's one. Sorry, Rory, you don't have to shit a brick. I'm getting the tape measure. If you look, if I do centimetre, well, if I do inches, that's the obvious thing to do. See, that's, I think it's the top line is the inch, but I'm pretty sure this is not. See, this is more of an inch and a chunk, so, you know, they're not perfectly inches. So I'm kind of, even though I am miserable, please do not think that I am not miserable. But I am kind of smiling because the problem my co-worker's asking me about is actually something that I've got experience with. Not well, and directly and personally. And I'm not going to give the game away, but someone sent someone something, and they didn't know how to handle it, and it's like, well, do what I did, and this is how I handled that exact scenario, and it's like, oh, but we don't think this person knows such and such, and it's like, no, I don't think mine did, but there you go. One thing I do hope to do this week is listen to more of my audiobooks. I do enjoy a good audiobook because you can do so much while listening to an audiobook because of course there's nothing to watch. So you can do things like this and listen to audiobooks because, well, you can still look at what you're doing. I just need to use a calculator. Hang on a sec. co-workers just kind of, I think he realised when he mentioned that the boss had asked him to ask me that that was probably something he should have kept to himself. Not really. You can tell me, it doesn't mean I'm going to answer him. I might not. I think the fact that I didn't immediately leap and answer it all gave him a bit of an answer. this middle nail keeps catching, not the one I broke, but the middle one keeps catching on the leather, which is a bit annoying. I just kind of try to smooth it off a bit, and it feels smooth, but then I'm still catching it on the leather, so I don't know what I'm doing. My fingers obviously being a bit dipso. Yes, I'm not going to say women aren't, but yes. Any particular cause of this revelation? I mean, I'm not going to disagree. Well, excuse me as I choke on myself. I will say that, like everything, there is generalisations. So, men as a... Yeah, you choke just because you breathed funny or something. Yeah, like in 53 years, I've not had enough fucking practice to get that right. So, I agree with you, and I disagree with you, and I see their point, and I don't see their point. So, let's work on this one from a different angle for a minute. We all know that extremists are usually a bit weird. If you take any religion, if you take any hobby, beliefs, anything, you can take it to an extreme and it becomes a little bit weird, right? But of course, not all of the insert whatever they are agree with that opinion. And so, you know, such as obviously a few years ago we had the ISIS issues. And there was the whole every Muslim's bad. Well, of course they're not. Don't be so wet. However, the extremists, not necessarily wrong there. But the extremists of anything are usually a little bit wrong. And so, yes, there are men who want plastic boobies, who want preferably the size of a planet, a butt the size of a planet, fake hair, fake nails, a fake tan, more makeup than half of Sally's, right? And there are men who find that genuinely attractive. There are men who find £600 women generally attractive. There are people who find anorexic people generally attractive. There are men who find pretty much anything attractive if you find the right one. So, I think in some ways it is a healthy thing that, you know, I'm not talking about gay people here, that men do not find men things attractive. Because that just gets really complicated. Just as most women don't generally care on your boobs and your butt and the things that men generally seem to have preferences over. Because, well, we've got a pair and whatevs, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you because sometimes you kind of go in, this is good for you? Exactly, Bailey. For me, I mean, my mother, I will say one thing my mother said that was very true and very accurate. A long-term marriage is built on friendship, not on hormones, right? You need People who you find attractive are people who work with the energy that you have, that understand you, that, maybe, I mean, here's a good example. I worked with a guy called Greg. Greg is sadly departed, and I miss him, right? Because Greg and I got on like a house on fire. Now, Greg was married. I've met his wife. I went to his funeral. I met his wife, his children, and half of his family. So, it was not in that sense. But Greg and I got on really well because Greg could see in me mood changes. And sometimes if I was on a phone call, I would get and he would come back with my glass of water because I only needed hot water. I had everything else at my desk. And so if I was on the phone, I didn't have to kind of bugger off and excuse myself. He would come back and he would, even if he didn't want one himself, he'd go and get me enough to make my cup of tea. Sometimes he'd go down the shop and bring me back snacks. Not so I owed him money, not because I asked him to, because he could. And I did the same. I would come back with snacks for him. Occasionally it was sandwich, it was a full-blown lunch, and occasionally it was just packet of crisps, chocolate bar, whatever. We got on so well, and part of the reason we got on so well was the first day he arrived, I'd been tasked with doing something I'd never done before, never had to do since, mind either, but never done before, never seen done, had zero inklings whatsoever. And to explain it, it was a particular backup system that other people in the company had installed. I now had to upgrade it, but I'd never even installed it, let alone upgraded it. But one thing I did know from the people who made it was that if you fuck this shit up, it's toast. The whole thing is unrecoverable and toast. And so, he got there and I kind of went, I'm going to have to apologise to you because today I've got to do this. I've never done this. I don't know shit about doing this. And, well, frankly, it's quite stressful because I've got to change lots of things about it. And I have been told by the company who write it, it is not possible. But this lot tell me I must do it. So I am going to proceed to try. I got it done, by the way. Did I get a thank you? Did I ask? But I upgraded the backup system. I took it from 34-bit to 64-bit, which you weren't supposed to do. Changed the Windows to Mac. Weren't supposed to do that either. And upgraded it a version. For this, you were supposed to be paying them, paying the company who wrote it, nearly £250,000, right? I did it for free by trying, right? And when the support went, you weren't on this version before, I went, no, I'm on a different version. Are we upgraded? Well, what did you upgrade from? Well, 32-bit this to 64-bit that. You're not supposed to do that. Well, I knew that, and I even knew what the problem was there was one remaining problem, and this will make you laugh. Everything worked. I got it working because the database didn't upgrade properly because it just didn't auto-upgrade. So I knew how to run the upgrade because at one point they'd made me run it to see if that would cheer it up for something else. So I knew how to do that. My brain remembered all of that, did all that, fixed all of that. For some reason, even though everything else was working, when you told it to eject tapes, it ejected them and then said it failed. Even though it had worked. And puzzled the hell out of the support guys. And eventually they helped me and we fixed that. And that was the only thing. But when I did it, Greg sat there, he plied me with tea and food and snacks and, grunts of appreciation and, wow, I didn't know how to do that. How did you do that? And because at the same time, I had to write an application to roll out the updates for the agents and then a load of them didn't work. So it would be scrolling past and I'd be scribbling down server names to go back to. And he'd be going, how did you know to do that? And I went, I didn't. I worked it out as we went along. And because he was not a stupid man. Greg was very intelligent. But because he saw something that he didn't know how to do, he had respect for me, where, frankly, very few people seem to. And I'd have moved heaven and earth for that man. Seriously. Greg was not a well man, so kind of not too surprising when he passed. But it was a little bit of a shock, because he'd phoned me on the Friday. He died that night. Because we'd made plans to meet at some point. And I never got to because that's the way it was. But he was a lovely bloke. He really was the nicest guy. But he had many issues, and he had to be on quite a lot of medication because of his many issues. So he had major psoriasis, and he had a heart problem and liver problems and some other shit, and stuff I probably didn't even know about because, well, it's none of my business. And because I actually asked him one time because I spotted him falling asleep, and I didn't want, because I liked him. Well, in my fridge, I could offer you sausages, bacon. I've got enough bacon to kill a small army. No, I really shit you not. I've got about 4 packs of bacon. I've got and this is just in the fridge. So in the fridge, I've got bacon, sausages. I've got chicken and bacon sandwich mix because even I can be lazy. I've got pate, cheese, more cheese, some other cheese, and another cheese. Do you want some cheese, maybe? I've got very little in terms of vegetable because that's just sad in a sandwich. But at the same time, I've got some chicken nuggets. I've got some sausage, kind of beef burgery things. I've got fish cakes, fish fingers. I've got pizzas. I've got what else have I got in there? Kind of hash brown, little kind of croquet hash brown things. I really like them. I've got, God help me, you don't want these. When I was a kid, crispy pancakes were fucking awesome. Then they stopped making them for a bit. When they brought them back with like cat food in or something. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them. They used to be beef and onion, and the brown on the beef and onion was like real deep dark brown, and it tasted of beef, and there was actual onion in it. Now it's kind of pink like cat food, and frankly it tastes like cat food, so it probably is cat food. I haven't died from eating it, but they also don't go crispy anymore even if you put them in the oven, which I tried because I fried them. I bought a couple of packs because I remembered how much I loved them, and you know how you do one day, you go, oh my god, I remember these, I'll buy some. So you bought some. Yeah, some of them are still in there because, well, yeah. Yeah. Because they used to be great. You used to have, like, my mum used to do boiled potatoes, crispy pancakes, and the outside of the crispy pancake was almost better than the contents because there's, like, half a teaspoon of contents, usually, and then this soggy but crispy kind of thing on the outside covered in breadcrumbs. It was really nice. Now there's half a teaspoon of cat food and it's soggy, even if you've overcooked it to try and crisp it up a bit. No, it stays soggy. It is minging. So I've got some of them because, well, I haven't quite brought myself to eat them. Now, they do work quite well in a sandwich, but they still taste like cat food. Yes, I have eaten cat food and dog food. So I am correct in this, I assure you. So, I'll definitely do not recommend. What else have I got in there? I know I've got other things in there. What else have I got in there? I've got some Yorkshire puddings, roast potatoes, frozen roast parsnips because I'm lazy and there's only me. So occasionally it's nice just to whip out like half a parsnip and slap it in the oven. What's in the bottom drawer? Oh, some sweet corn. I've got some pasta in packets, a bit like, Uncle Ben's rice thing, but I've got pasta. Sadly, the pasta's a bit over soft for my liking, but I've got a few of those in a couple of different flavours. I've also got pasta and sauce, so obviously that works quite well, because obviously you just don't cook it too long and it won't be soggy. So I've got a few of them. I quite like pasta and saucy type things. I've got meatballs in a tin, some soup, lots of soup actually, crusty rolls that are part baked, so you half cook, so you bung them in the air fryer for 8 minutes and get a fresh cooked bit of bread. That's great. So snacks. I could do Bailey a snack. do Bailey a snack. And so, yeah, I've got plenty of things I can put in a sandwich. Haven't actually got bread, other than these, you know, half-baked roll things that I've got. So, yeah, it is kind of... But I do know what you mean, Bailey, very much. Especially when you live alone. One of the... It's almost the... Because if you live alone, all you I won't say all you can think of, but every time you want a drink, every time you want a snack, every time there's going to be dinner, there's going to be lunch, you have to decide it. I've said this quite a few times. I love living alone. I really, really do. If I want to eat pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can cook a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning. If I want to paint my kitchen at 3 o'clock in the morning, fuck it, paint my kitchen at 3 o'clock in the morning. No one's gonna be mad by the noise. No one's gonna mind. The dogs, you know, if the dogs are awake or asleep, no one else cares, right? I love being able to have, you know, tea for breakfast, breakfast for tea, cake for breakfast, you know, whatever suits my boat. Absolutely love that. I don't get lonely, because there is a difference between being alone and being lonely. What I do miss... Do you want a cup of tea? Pathetic as it sounds, once in a blue moon, just to hear someone else go, do you want a cup of tea? And can make it for me. You know, if someone cares to drop round about once every 3 months and randomly make me a cup of tea, that kind of probably sort me out, actually. But it is that kind of thing, is the just once in a blue moon, shall I order pizza for tea? I love the smell of fruity teas. To be honest, I can't stand drinking them. The only fruity tea I ever had that really lived up to the smell was a licorice one. Now, I don't like licorice as a whole. I need to make that very clear. But me and a guy I sat next to at work, basically, we would each buy a random packet of fruity teas. I know, gag, right? That would be my first reaction, right? But we randomly bought fruity teas. We'd each try one and go, and then leave it in the kitchen to be adopted by someone who would eat it, right? And we got through quite a lot of fruity teas. And then he stumbled across Twinings licorice tea. It sounds revolting, but we were running out of other things to try. Now, you get your tea. It's not really purple. It's just kind of tea looking. It smells glorious. It doesn't smell like licorice. This is the important thing. The smell you smell is not what you think licorice smells like, right? You sip it, and while it's in your mouth, it tastes of nothing, and you're going, well, this is a fucking bust. You swallow it, and your entire mouth explodes with a glorious flavour, like you have never had before. And it is like the second coming of tea bags, right? It is the Jesus of tea bags, right? And we were like, oh my God, I want to drink my body weight in this stuff. Because, as I said, while you have it in your mouth, it tastes of nothing. The moment it leaves your mouth, it bursts into flavour. There's a caution on it, you're only allowed one a day. Because in case you didn't know, licorice is a laxative. But these things, I mean, I hate licorice. As a child and as an adult, it is about the only thing made out that is come in candy form that I do not like. And do not like is being kind. I will avoid it at all costs. I can just about eat red licorice because it's a bit like white chocolate in that there's no chocolate in white chocolate. I can eat red licorice because technically it's not licorice. Can't eat licorice. I hate it. I'd rip a body part off willingly with my bare hands before eating it. But those teas, I will... Exactly, very much Bertie Shattuck's, right? I was flabbergasted, and so was he, to be honest, because after all the great the herbal teas, that some of them, they smell out of this world. You could sit and sniff them for half an hour. They were great, but they taste like cat piss. And to be honest, that's what I've always found with nearly every herbal tea. Smells glorious, tastes a cat way. Except for Twinings licorice tea, which smells good, while in the mouth tastes of nothing and you're thinking it's another cat piss, and then grabs you by the throat and explodes with happiness. Which reminds me, I must get me some, because I haven't had some for ages. I really like that shit. The problem is that you only enjoy it once you've swallowed it. Which kind of means you don't enjoy it for, like 70% of the time. Because you can either sniff it or have swallowed it. I have tried some of them cold. You see, I mean... I don't know what it is about herbal teas. Many of them smell really nice, but the taste just isn't there. It makes weak lemon drink as a train spotter look glorious. And you're kind of like, if I've got to add half a bottle of Ribena or orange juice to it, to make it taste something, it's kind of missing the point, really, surely. See, it's not wishing to rank. I mean, but the funny part for us was we bought this packet of, kind of like 6 different flavoured herbal teas. We'd tried one because we were getting a bit wise to it by now, so we'd make one of them, and rather than make 2, we would have one and we'd like sip a little bit and go, no, and so we'd kind of share, and it would be like, no, that was not good, that was not good. And we kept leaving them in the kitchen. And one day we went in and we put a note on it of, please take me, our owners did not like us, right? And this woman went, are you really giving those away? And it was like, oh, fuck yes. Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like, burnt rubber with a hint of dog turds, and you're like, who in the right mind wants this? And this woman went, oh, the last ones you left out were phenomenal. Bitch, I wouldn't have pissed on that. I would drink my own wee before drinking that, And I've never tried, but it can't be any worse, And I think that's the problem for me, is that when you would consider that somebody's urine would be better than the tea, it's probably not a good tea, in my view. But I also respect that other people like different things. So if someone else loves it, great, you have it. Because I've tried it. I've been the good adult. Before I went, I tried it. And I went, anyway. And now you can have it. Because I bought it, I hate it. And I want it gone from my sight. Please take it away. It offends me. I don't want it on my desk. I don't need my entire desk full of tea bags I can't drink because they were vile. I want in tea bags. I always wonder what happened to him. He was a good laugh. I was one of the few people who treated him like a human being, so he liked me. Hence, we had the tea conversation. I also helped him sort a few things out, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that, and, I always wonder what happened to him. I'm not saying he was a model employee, but didn't do any harm. So it's... I don't know whether he left by choice or whether he was pushed. Actually, I'm trying to remember what happened to him. It's been a while. Let me read my next epic instalment from my co-worker. So I'm going to give it a break in a minute. I mean, it has been 3 hours, but we've got to the bottom of inch number 11 finally, and a bit, to be honest, because as I say, the inch line's kind of up here, so we have reached 11 inches, but I'm just kind of leveling it off a little bit, because, well, that's a good thing to do. I mean, it doesn't really frigging matter. I mean, at some point, every single one of these dots is going to go in. So as long as you do them in the right order and the right things, you know, I could keep working diagonally for all that mattered. But that just makes it harder to keep with the scrolly thing at the back and the angles of the pins and all of those kind of moments. So it makes a bit more sense to try and not be perfectly level about it, but kind of not to get too far ahead anyway, just so that, you know, the active bit, so that if you've got one bit down here, you don't have one bit up here, because, you know, that makes the pins not do their job very well. So yeah. is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, I borrowed one over it. Is it? Alright. So let me briefly show you my thing again, because now it's a bit of a clear thing, you can see better. So as you can see, I've started on this next hexagon, so I've done the 3 and now I've come up so I can do 4. But one thing I still like about this is how it's kind of drapey, because as a general rule these little tatting flowers don't seem to be drapey. They're quite solid. So I kind of like how this one's turning out, and I think it will work quite well as a shawly kind of thing. So I intend to do some of that. As I say, I'd like to do a bit more work on the game I was fiddling with. Maybe play a bit of Monsters and Memories, because, well, pressing macros and helping people can be good. And generally, but as I said, it's only 2.5 days, so you know, I don't know, it's gonna fly by. But I had part of the reason that I knew something was up this morning was that I remember staying up Friday to play Path of Exile. So I remember that Saturday kind of was Friday, and I remember Sunday. I don't remember the rest of the week. I don't remember streaming. I don't remember doing a single thing last week, and it was pretty poor for your week off, wasn't it? So I knew that my brain cells weren't doing quite what they should, and so hopefully I can do something about it. Oh look, they killed off the spam bot. It's funny how I've managed to pick up 11 emails while streaming. Hang on, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 from my website thing, but not about my website, claiming it's gone offline, come online. So that's from a hosting company. One saying pay for your internet. One from LinkedIn, although I'm sure I had 2 earlier. One from Dell saying update your old PC. And one for Etsy going, special pics for you. Apparently I want a fly brooch. Or lace bobbin pillows I don't like. So yeah. Never mind. I will do everything to be here tomorrow. It is bin day. I will try and remember to do bin day earlier in the day, not wait till streaming time and then go, oh shit, I haven't done the bins. Which is how my life generally seems to work, because Wednesday's just a dumb day to do bins. Because it's not the beginning of the week to clean up after the weekend, and it's not to clean up before the weekend. It's just lame. And of course they don't come till Thursday morning, but they usually come real freaking early Thursday morning, to the point of they actually come before the legal time they're allowed to do so. So we're obviously the start of their run, and they get a bit of a head start. And so it's not like I can wake up Thursday morning and go, oh shit, I forgot, and sneak them out in time. No. Not unless I'm getting up real friggin' early. And I don't really do getting up early. It's not a thing that I am prone to do. I know what I need to do. I need to roll up my thing at the back here. So let's do a bit of a roll up of the thing at the back. Where's the hole? The only thing I don't like about this is, where is the hole? It looks like that's the hole, but it's not the hole. But it is the hole. Yeah, it is the hole. It is the hole. And let's twist it round a bit because it just twiddles. Problem is I keep kind of wedging it on the pins, and that's definitely not what I need to do. There you go. Rounded it around. Rounded it round a bit at the back. Look. See, look, there he is, around my little kind of rolling pin thingy to keep it from dangling. Because, of course, technically there's about 9.5 inches of it there. With a bit of forethought and laying a cloth over the pins, for example. You know, if I do, which I'm going to do anyway, so, but if I laid the cloth carefully down and tucked it in, I could unwind it all and then we'd be able to look. But I was going to take a picture, you numbnut. Silly one. Silly woman. No brains for you, that's for sure. See, I don't know. It was a bit shit, but it's quite clear. This looks a little bit wonky, but that's because it's not held in place. It's only 10:15, but maybe. Maybe. Oh, yawn. Just looking for mistakes, because we all know that this is the quickest way to find them, is to look at a photo and go, there's one. There's a big one. I'm not sure I can go back that far. I might be able to. If you look here, I didn't twist the ends of that spider, which is why it looks funny. So if I undid that one, takes you to there. It might be fixable. Might actually be fixable, but I'm not going to do it tonight because that will just result in swearing. So that's a tomorrow Liz problem. Tomorrow Liz will need to remember to do that, which she won't. So whoever's on my stream first thing tomorrow, if you can, do ask me, have you fixed the spider? Because I'll remember when I take the photo tomorrow, but not when I start, because, well, I'm good at that. But it's time that we also did the update of the thing. So let's update the thing. That's not what I said. Yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. I mean, think about it. At 97 centimetres. Hang on. Convert 97 centimetres to inches. So that's 38 inches. We're rapidly heading for a third of the way through the first strip. So, you know, we're doing good. We're definitely doing good. Anyway, I am going to take my sorry soul and do other things. I'm going to go and probably kill a few monsters before bed. So we'll see if I can kill any monsters before bed. I shall try and upload the video because I got really crap at that last week. Or was it the week before? I know I did very badly about uploading videos after streaming. And then, of course, last week I was pretty bad at streaming as well. So I really didn't do very well the last couple of weeks on that front. So I will do my best to upload that and sort that out as I go to bed. I would say I'd clean my couch, but I'm really not in the mood for that. Try that another day. You got a yawn. Excuse me. But thank you for coming today. You mean a lot, all of you. Having you on my journey of strangeness is very much appreciated. And it does matter to me that you come. I mean, even if this entirely isn't your bag, it is nice to have people who come and watch it and you know, talk to me and distract me a little from the repetitiveness of my chosen hobby. So yeah, thank you for coming. Mick gets me. I hope you got a couple of days to your father-in-law's birthday. I hope he has a great time and that you have a good time staying with your in-laws. Bailey, I wish I could hand you a sandwich of all time. A big juicy sausage and bacon with sauce and cheese and everything. Monster thing that could feed you for a week. But yeah, I shall endeavour to do everything to be back tomorrow. But do join Discord and say hello if you like. Give me someone to talk to. I will go and do other things. Good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.